Welcome to Literary Deep Dives and Discussions with me, A.L. Liskey, the author of the Unseen Operative series. I have a guest with me here today, fellow author H.L. Wiley. How are
Thank
you,
you.
H.L.?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah.
Just for the viewers out there, HL is the author of the Drakenfell Chronicles, and so we're going to discuss a little bit about her author journey, her books. Just to kind of start things off, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became an author.
So I have always been an artist of one form or another, whether it's painting or writing, singing, playing instruments. And I spent a year just trying to bury my head. Like I've always been an avid reader too. But last year I just spent a year burying myself in books and I read 65 books. I think my goal was like 50, but I ended up reading 65. Out of all the books that I was reading, I just wasn't getting what I wanted, right? And I had all these ideas where I was like, oh, this would be such a great story if it went this way or this one went that way and things like that. So I have a teenage daughter and I really was thinking about things that she went through the last 2 years of her high school relationships and things, and just got the idea one day. I'm just like, I need to actually like sit down and write something. I know I can. I've written short stories and I've written a lot in graduate school and undergrad, and I'm like, I can do it. So I just kind of came up with this idea of these characters that have probably been living in my mind since I was a child, and just kind of put them all together and based it off of something that means a lot to me and means a lot to my daughter, which is consent.
Would you call that the underlying theme of your book series?
Yeah, I would say so. I think friendship, consent, doing what's right even when people are telling you it's not, like trusting your gut and trusting your instincts. And my grandmother always had a saying, don't believe half of what you hear, or don't believe anything you hear and half of what you read. That's what it was. Yeah. So it was always something that really stuck deeply in me, in the current affairs of the world right now, have really, as a human living in this world, is really kind of struck pretty deep for me. I have a lot of family that we lost in past wars, and it was just feeling like things were repeating itself for my family. So I wrote to that tune, and wrote to the tune of what I think a lot of the youth right now is dealing with, this identity of where do we go from here? What's going to happen in this lack of understanding of just life in general. If that makes sense.
Yeah. It does. The navigation of life, particularly, that is kind of a theme in my series, though
Mhm.
differently. I write for adults and I do speculative
Mhm.
mystery thriller, but
Yeah.
it is kind of this state of looking at the world and saying, is history repeating itself? Are we
Mhm.
repeating our choices? What do we do about that? That is something that
Yeah.
I deeply explore, but
Yeah.
you're absolutely right, that is something that troubles the youth. I've
Mhm.
worked with a lot of youth over the years in my previous
Yeah.
profession as well, and it comes up again and again that they're very uncertain and insecure
Yeah.
about the future, and they just want something to give them that kind of sense of hope. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm sensing you're writing in
Something
your
to hold
story.
on to. Yeah, for sure. And that's even though I use dragons and mythic lore to tell these stories, it's really the heart of it is trusting yourself, and not believing everything you hear, and seeking knowledge and seeking justice for that, without just being like, oh, I'm just going to believe what someone told me because they told me that. Like actually digging deeper into history and learning things for yourself, and also trusting yourself and leaning on your friends as well, and knowing that you're not alone, that there's other people out there that are also dealing with the same stuff. So
Exactly. Yes. Oh my goodness.
yeah.
You've hit on so much there. Something that one of my fellow authors once said in a post was that people don't actually ask a lot of questions. And I think that's one of the biggest things is we need to have that curiosity. We need to be
Mhm.
asking questions. We need to be questioning what we see in front of us, whether
Mhm.
it's real or not, especially in the age of AI. Like the image
Yeah.
in front of us could be something completely made up, and yet so many people take it face value and go crazy with it.
Mhm.
And
Yep. The deep faking is getting kind of crazy, especially when it comes to just, I think there was even something about Taylor Swift, some really inappropriate stuff that came up of her, videos of her doing stuff, and it was completely AI. And that's just like totally inappropriate and not okay. And that's someone that our youth look up to. So to see something like that and to have that fake, I mean, the defamation of character is absolutely ridiculous. And then you
mm,
take that and you put it towards a political situation, and that's even worse. Like that's even more dangerous. Deep
very
fake
much
stuff
so.
really bothers me with AI. If you're playing around to create other things and do something fun for yourself, that's completely different. It's just when you start using it to try to alter what people think, is becomes really bad.
Right there, you nailed it. It's
Yeah.
also huge. focus of my series because it's partially a techno thriller.
Hmm.
So it takes the AI going extreme, people buying into what they're
Hmm.
seeing, all that craziness. And if anything political can blow up
Everyone,
massively
have a
and
cat
cause
coming.
like
Sorry.
wars. Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's picking you up.
Hello. It does. You're absolutely right. Is so much tension that doesn't need to happen
Hmm.
among humans occurs because of technology that's used without responsibility, and
Yeah.
that's something that I really value is trying to push out there, especially to the upcoming youth, that we have all these freedoms and they are fantastic, but there's a
Hmm.
responsibility attached to them, and if you use that responsibility, it's more liberating than not having it.
Yeah, it's very true. Like, technology in general is meant to enhance what humans can already do. You know, it's not meant to take over. I love these theories that it's the takeover theory because I think it's great. I love that. We have to also stay focused and be like, no matter what, there's no human feeling within it. There's no human that they can articulate or become. So it's fun to read about that and to dream about that and have that be like a dystopian society type thing. I love that. But at the same time realizing like we only allow it to take over if we allow it to. Gotta
Yeah, and it can't take over without the human consent, the
consent.
consent theme, like you're
Yeah.
saying, but also like
Yeah.
people aren't running it in some way, shape, or form. It's not running at all.
Yeah, which is it's another thing about educating yourself and really understanding stuff and how things work. And if you don't understand things like that, people should really be implored to really understand like where it comes from and how it works. I mean, there's a lot to it. Even using generative AI to create something like there, you don't just go like, hey, write me this book. There's a lot of that going on right now, and I I have read books that have been generated by AI, and it's pretty obvious to me. I figure we'll probably touch on this topic because it's hot right now. It's really interesting, like the input that you have to put in to even create anything. I think my daughter did a project for school where they were using AI for something, and it was, like we're gonna write a poem, we're gonna use AI to write the poem, and it was actually quite hilarious at the end of it, how it came out. But it definitely taught her a lot, and I learned a lot in helping her from that, like how it actually works and how almost impossible it is to actually, write something that's just like 100% like, hey, I want a story, write this about this, this, and this. It just, yeah, there's no depth to it. Maybe a child's book, like we went to the
Mhm.
beach. At the beach, we played with sand.
In my previous profession, we did a very big project that I was deeply involved in where we were scrutinizing the different AI technologies, how
Mhm.
they worked, where they came from, where they were getting their things. And our goal of that project was to form these standards of the workplace, how to properly use it, how to
Yeah.
properly not use it, how to identify it. And I learned a lot about how to just at a glance identify AI. And it's always
Mhm.
shocking to me how many authors claim to not use it. And I glance at their manuscript, I'm like, okay, we've got triads here, overuse of M dash. If you read just reading it out loud, it
Yeah.
doesn't sound like a person.
No,
And
no.
and yet people think, okay, AI is incredible because it can write books, but just
Yeah.
because it can doesn't mean that they're actually
Or it
good.
should.
Or it should,
Yeah.
exactly.
And that's like one of the
Yeah.
parts, one of the editing features that I learned even in undergrad is like anytime you write something, you got to read it out loud because even as a human, we can write some horrible things and we don't find these syntax errors and issues until we're really reading it out loud. So, yeah, that
Yeah.
just tells you like, oh my goodness, not only was it written by AI, but it also was not, it was edited as well.
It's always a jumble, but yeah, very 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 hot
Mhm.
topic. For me, I mean, I struggle enough trying to write in with my brain managing three different languages. If you want
Yeah,
to throw AI on top of that, it's just no, absolutely
yeah,
not.
that's amazing. What languages do you speak?
So I speak Spanish, English, and Tagalog, which is the general Filipino dialect, and I started picking up Ilocano before I came back to the US, but
Uh-huh.
it's been a fat minute since I spoke any of that, so
Mhm.
it's I can do Tagalog. It just
Yeah.
Ilocano is gone.
Yeah, no, it's similar to Spanish. There's a lot of words mixed in there that are also Spanish. So I would think that it would be
Mhm.
easier if you speak Spanish to be able to speak that language as well.
Actually, it's shockingly not. It was
Oh
mind
no.
tearing. Yeah, I mean, part of my writing, which comes like about the mind and the subconscious and the difficulties in there, comes
Mhm.
from that experience. Is because I spoke Spanish, I thought this will be easy, but their Spanish words are not the same across the board, and the way that the grammar is rearranged, all the rules and the linkers, it's so
Uh-huh.
completely different.
Yeah.
I could not grasp it for the first 7 months that I was there. And
Mhm.
then when I finally started understanding it, like it is the
Yeah.
easiest language in the world, but Spanish made it hard.
That is so funny. I picked up German a couple summers ago because they were saying like 40% of the vocabulary is English words. They don't
Mhm.
tell you that they're spelt differently. So,
Yep.
yes, learning to speak it was easier, but like seeing it, like the sight words that kids have in English, and seeing these sight words in German, and yes, it sounds almost exactly the same, minus like a little bit of different of the accentia. Saying those words and seeing them is just totally different. So, yeah, I could probably have a conversation with 3-year-old. My Spanish maybe is up to 5-year-old level. So, yeah, learning another language is crazy. And then
It
writing, I
is.
can't even imagine.
It's been something, and sometimes I get readers who ask me because I do have those languages mixed in my
Hmm.
book, and then I have the English after it, and they're like, "How is
Hmm.
this even supposed to sound?" I'm like, "You want me to read this out loud for you?" It's awful.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Oh,
but it is fun languages. So let's get back to dragons. I
yeah.
was I finished reading your book just a couple days ago, and
Awesome.
I was really intrigued by it. So, what inspired the Drakenfell Chronicles?
Um, the dragons are inspired by my own horse because she is a fire breathing dragon. Her personality is just so funny, and her personality is split between Tarragon and Sereth for sure. Just she can be funny, she can be hilarious, very very playful, and then at the same time she can be very well. She's 19 years old, which for her breed is she's not a super old horse, but I mean it comes with a bit of wisdom. So then at the same time she can be a lot like Tarragon, but at the same time, with all of that in thought, the dragons are almost like a conscience too. So you've got your liminal mind, and you've got, you're working like this is what I'm thinking right now, and I can recognize that I'm thinking that. But then you've got your little good spirit and your little evil spirit on your shoulders, and we call those, like your subconscious and your like your will and things. And so it was really funny. I wanted to come up with something where the dragons were actually speaking in their mind, like you could communicate, because I think that that's really important. Everybody wants to know what was the dragon thinking during that situation. So I wanted to make sure that they had their own voice and were able to speak. And but yeah, I was mainly inspired by my horse and all the horses I've had through the years, and the ones that I've ridden and the ones that I've been around. Because I mean, you're a dragon rider, you're also riding a horse, riding a dragon. So that's what inspired them. And those personalities are just so silly.
I thought they were fun. Yeah.
Yeah, they're really fun.
How did you create your characters, the dragons and the people?
Seraphine, I thought I needed a character that could be strong if she had the right people around her, and I think that speaks to a lot of teen girls. They can be really outgoing, they can be really strong, they can have ideas and speak their mind and have opinions, but they can also be shy in that same sentence if they're not feeling confident about themselves. And for a teen girl, the smallest things are secrets to them, and they don't want anybody to know anything about them that might possibly and potentially put them in a situation where they're not accepted in society. So Seraphine was my character like that, and they all kind of have their own little quirks like that. But Seraphine specifically, I wanted her to be in a situation where she felt powerless, and I wanted her to have an arc where she grew from that powerless and grew into somebody who was confident, and felt powerful when she had the right people around her. And that's just many situations that my daughter had gone through, and I remember going through as a teen and talking to some of her friends and remembering trials and tribulations that my friends went through. It would be the smallest thing, and we'd just be like, oh my gosh, what if somebody finds out about that? And even though and nobody else knows, it still feels like everybody's looking at you and everybody's watching you, and that insecurity that comes with that age. So Seraphine was definitely that for me.
I think you captured that well.
Yeah, and then Leora, I wanted to be this just fun character who was confident in herself, who is that person that you just instantly make best friends with because their personality is so kind. And at the same time, somebody who's quirky, where, most of the people that are popular are going to look down on her, look at her and be like, you're weird. I really wanted someone to be like that, because that character is really me when I think about it. I was really different, very quirky, very nerdy, dweeby. I call myself a trifecta today because I have all three of those. What is it? Nerd, dweeb, and dork. I actually just ran into like something really hard on my hip on my way down to come to this interview. And I was like, ouch. And I'm like, well, I'm a dweeb. And later in the books, I don't know if you just read the first one, but in the third book, Leora finally gets a dragon, and Leora's dragon is just like her. So it's really fun. She's actually kind of been a fan favorite. A lot of people have reached out to me, asking me more questions about her or commenting about her, and it was really fun. And then Lachlan, of course. Lachlan is really just a character that he has a deeper secret, and his secret means total destructive. People would just shun him. I mean, as you know, because you've read the book, I try not to give away too much of these in these interviews, but his gift could be really used in the wrong way. Kind of, I guess we talked about AI, similar to AI, but kind of a lot worse than that. Mm-hmm. So his gift is so damaging that, no royal, nobody that leads, anything like that, wants anybody to have any gift like that. So that is punishable by death. So he would be destroyed if anybody knows about it. And that could be, we can still relate that to, to people in real life as well. And gosh, there's so many other characters. If you wanted to speak of one, you'd have to tell me, because everybody loves Morwena as well. So, and then Alistair.
She was a plot twist, that one. I did like the sister-brother dynamics between Seraphine and her brother. I thought that was fun.
Alistair is definitely kind of modeled after my own brother. My brother is 9 years older than me, and he just did not have any problems, really. I saw him and looked up to him as somebody that was just, really had his stuff together. He continues to have his stuff together. He's amazing. He's an engineer. He's very smart. And so it's really fun to write those characters. And Morwena was definitely a plot twist. And in book 4 that's coming, she's going to be another plot twist. So
oh boy, how exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some stuff that's going on in book 3 that will shock you, probably about Lachlan, that'll shock everybody. He's starting to enter a dark time that is really challenging him and challenging who he is, and people are going to be extremely surprised. So
now I just kind of want to skip to the third book.
We'll just skip book 2 and jump into the third book. Yeah. No, there's a lot of context in book 2 you got to read.
As I'm writing the second book of my own series, and like people for the bigger picture of it would want to probably skip to book 3, but contextually they need book 2, kind of like the Harry Potter series. You need that little bridge book.
Honestly, I was writing book 2 and I was like, I need to get to book 3. Like, I didn't want to write book 2. It was so hard for me because I was just like, everything's going to happen in the next book. So much stuff is going to happen. And I got to the third book and I got a little writer's block and I'm like, what is going on? And I write pretty fast. Like, I'm probably a couple months for a book because I have everything mapped out and I have everything organized and what I want the different arcs to be. Like Colum, for example, has an arc. He's kind of a villain in the first book, but as you read, like, you start to, I don't want to like him, but I kind of like him. So it's really hard. But when I finally got to the third book too, I was like, okay, it's great that this stuff can start coming out now. And now I'm really excited about the fourth book. But I did a poll and everybody likes Alistair and Leora so much because they've slowly started to have a little bit of a friendship. So I did a vote, and now everybody wants a novella of Leora and Alistair before the fourth book.
That's funny. I had something similar. I made the mistake of polling some of my readers about their favorite parts of the book, and they were all like there was a little write-in section. They just said, okay, so when is the romance happening between so-and-so? And I'm like,
yeah.
Excuse me, this isn't a romance book.
Well, it just surprised me that people picked up on the subtleness of their relationship to make it into something. And then I also, I really love hiding Easter eggs in my books too that are not to be discovered until like the 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th book even. That's my I'm trying to make it into a 7-book series. We'll see if we'll get there. It might end up being longer. It might end up being shorter. But that's like, they're so smart. They've already
Readers
like
are
gotten
sharp.
some of the Easter eggs, and I'm like, gosh darn it. But it's
I
fun.
throw
It's
too
fun to
many in
listen
for my
to.
readers to
Yeah,
find them.
it's really fun to listen to them speculate too, and for me to know what's going to happen, but hear what they think or what they want to happen. So
Just because so many people, I have heard them talk about their books and, give the readers what they want. And me, I won't give the readers what they want. So I throw a wrench in their plans in my second book. Spoiler. But are you the kind of person that when people are like, okay, we're shipping that this should happen, that you're like, okay, I'll make that happen?
no.
Good for you.
I'm the same as you. I'm the same as you. But I think my second book has like a huge, even in the beginning of it, it's, well, no, it's not quite in the beginning. It's more towards I guess I have one in the beginning and I have one in the end. So there's a couple of twists in that book, but the one in the end I think really, really shocks people. It's not what they expected and it specifically deals with Colum and how nobody's really liking him because of the first book and what he did. And even in the second book, and he's like kind of being creepy, honestly, trying to like apologize. And it's just like day late and a dollar short. Like, you were really dealing with some corrupt stuff. And it's interesting how by the end of that book, people are like, no, I can't believe you just did that. So yeah. So needless to say, Colum ends up in the third book as well. He's not going away anytime soon.
So when you're writing, and especially your characters, do any of them shockingly grow on you, or like just act on their own in ways that you didn't expect?
Yes, I would say so. I have an outline for 7 books, what I wanted to happen in the beginning, and this is really hard. I am totally ADHD, autistic, neurosparkly, all of it. And I've thought about doing it on my wall, but I don't like my handwriting and I'm too picky, and there's just too much to like map it out, like the 7 books. So I actually do it within Google Docs. So I have this arc spread out, and with each book, I have an outline of the 7-book arc, and then I have an outline of each book, and then I have an outline of each chapter. What it starts, what it ends with, what's supposed to happen, and I just sit there and I write it. So I pre-plan that out, but while I'm doing that within it, it's kind of weird. Like, I have to be organized, but I organize myself for chaos. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Like,
yes, it
I
does.
organize myself. I have to have a schedule and it has to be a certain way, almost like I'm OCD, but I'm thankfully not that. But when I plan spontaneity, I plan the time for spontaneity to happen, and then boom, that's a little area for spontaneity. So yes, my characters do lead my stories. Answer your question in a really weird, roundabout, spastic way.
It makes sense to me.
Okay.
I'm quite the same in a similar sense, although I
Mhm.
don't outline my stories.
Mhm.
Okay, I outlined a quarter of the second one,
Okay.
but it
You're
is
getting
it
there.
is just character driven, and they
Yeah.
do things, and I know they're going to do certain things, so
Yeah.
when things happen, I'm not necessarily surprised. It's just the way that they do them. Why?
Sometimes I've been writing and I just go back and I read what I've written and I'm just like, how'd you do it that way? But it's just like, it just comes out. And I have another friend of mine, Holly Ray. She's also an indie author and writes a lot. And she's so funny. I've heard interviews with her, and just talking to her, because she's a very good friend of mine. She's probably one of my best friends, and she lives like across the country, but we've met through this indie author group. It's so funny because she's just like, my characters just take the reins. And I'm like, Holly, rein them in, rein them in. But her books are so magical and so fun to read. This arc over here might be going on, but I've got a subplot over here that's twisting with this subplot that's going to end up over here. And then this one goes back to here, and it brings you back, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's why that happened. So I'm like, I don't pay attention to any of that
I'm here
stuff.
as a mystery author thinking, why have you not written mystery yet?
I don't know. It doesn't really do anything for me.
But
I
you've
like
definitely got
relationships.
the mind for it.
Yeah. Yeah, that, and probably my job. I work in social work, so thrillers. I've given some ideas to friends for thriller books, but yeah, yeah. I don't know, mysteries are fun, but I'm not in that era right now. When I was in my mid-teens, I was reading these books by, I think it was Rachel Fromm was the author. I forget her name, but we called them the Cat Who books, and they were all mysteries. And it was the cat who, and it was like the cat who killed a mouse, or the cat who boarded a train. And they were all like mysteries that this cat helped this lady figure out. And they're so cute, but why not? I'm an indie author. I can just throw it all into one book and
This is true.
call it fantasy that has all of these things in it. Who's stopping me? No.
Exactly. I mean, I would argue a lot of fantasy books have a mystery element to them. I mean, especially like Harry Potter, if we look at the big great ones, there's completely mystery in that. They're trying to solve something, and they do eventually. But of course, because of the elements in that mystery, it is fantasy.
Yeah, and it's a villain, and there's an element of high fantasy. Like, they're saving the world from this person. So, of course, that's high fantasy. And then there's a little bit of romantasy mixed in there, too. But I won't call my books romantasy, because nowadays romantasy is something that was not romantasy to me. So I don't want to call them romantasy and have them lined up for that, and then somebody be really disappointed that they didn't get a smutty scene.
True that. I have so when I first entered the author community, well, fiction author community, because I've been a nonfiction author for most of my adult life. Romantasy, the way I understood it from a nonfiction view, the way that it was categorized was paranormal romance. That's how I always understood it. That's how it read across. And then I come in and everyone's like, no, it's romance and fantasy. I'm like, I thought romance fantasy was its own subgenre of fantasy. I don't know. I don't know if I'm right or wrong on that, but it's funny to me how much that has blown up, and like that is the big thing now. So I'm wondering what's next once that genre is kind of sputtered down.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that romantasy has always been there. It's still not a word. Like, you can look it up and it'll tell you, like, spell check will be like, that's not a word. And I don't think it's like in a dictionary or anything officially yet, which the nerd in me finds all that stuff interesting. I'm gonna try not to nerd out on that for an hour. But yeah, it's really interesting how the genres has shifted. But I really feel like it's always been there. Like, I read Mercedes Lackey when I was a later teen. I loved her Arrows of the Queen series. And I mean, that had the romantasy in it, but it was YA, so it was appropriate romantasy. It was either like they got up to a certain point and they were kissing or making out, and then it was closed door. Now there's like closed door, fade to black, shadow daddy. I just can't.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I can't take it seriously. I mean, to each their own. But sometimes I'll be reading a book and I won't know, and I'll be like, oh my gosh. So I'll be like, skip.
Yeah, there's an argument that there needs to be a rating system, like, across the board, that before anybody picks your book, they need to know what's in it, like a disclosure, PG guide or whatever.
Definitely heard that. I was really surprised to see some of the books that are not YA that a lot of my daughter's friends were reading, and I was like, oh, I read that book. It made me blush quite a bit. And then there's controversy around another YA book right now that I haven't read, so I can't really speak much of it, but it's around like I think a threesome and necromancy.
Oh goodness.
Have you heard of that one?
Nope.
Oh my gosh, it's getting a lot of attention. There's people that are posting videos where they're like taking the book and they're finding it in the store and they're like hiding it behind other books that they feel are appropriate. And I'm just like, that author is so lucky. If I could get that kind of free PR, like, my book would probably blow up.
That is the thing with it too. Yeah. I try not to pay attention to those things because for me, I sit on the board of a nonprofit that we're all about healthy relationship education. So when I see things like that, and then I watch the news and there's all these court cases against inappropriate books being in teenage schools and whatnot, it's disheartening to me that there is such profanity just being passed out, whatever, and nobody bats an eye at it.
Yeah, a lot of it I hear is a lot of profanity, but then the scenes that are just inappropriate, and that's why I think my least favorite, what is it called, a trope. I still don't speak the language, the indie authors, but for tropes like enemies to lovers is just tears me to pieces. I do not want any young woman to ever read an enemies to lovers and really enjoy it because as little girls we were told like, oh, he was mean to me, oh, that's because he likes you. That is not true. It is so not true. Why are we lying to young women? Why are we continuing to have this conversation and this rhetoric where we tell girls it's okay for boys to be mean to them and it means that they love them, because it's
Mhm.
absolutely not okay. And
It's
I feel the
not.
same
And
way
then
about that trope, and I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for that, but security is important in a relationship. Consent is important in a relationship. Communication, having somebody who stands by you even in difficult times is what's important. And I think that a lot of the problems of the youth today and how they treat each other and how we're continuing to be this way is because of things like that.
I'll stand on that soapbox with you. I'm saying all the time on social media that it's not okay for me. Like watching the domestic violence rates go up and the intimate partner violence,
Yeah.
partner violence,
Partner violence. Yep.
IVF. Yeah, as it rises up, and I'm watching the statistics every month, and I'm just like, why do they not see that all the media that we put out there, the movies, the books
Yeah.
that depict these unhealthy
Yeah.
relationships,
Oh, that
that is what they're
after,
learning. We don't
that.
learn this stuff in school, so
No. And we don't, hopefully, we're not learning this stuff at home. Not everybody is as lucky as some people are, but we can't change this system if we're not changing it in the most innocent of places, which is reading for kids. And we're pushing reading. And reading for me as a teenager was, and it is today still, is a way for me to escape. So if we're, not doing that, and good books become movies, so they're getting it one way or another. But yeah, I'm 100% with you there. It's so important.
I really appreciated like the way that you wrote your book. Everything in there just it was clean, it was good, it was fun, it was lively. Like to
Mm-hmm.
me, I read books like that, I walk away and I feel good. I don't have to
Yeah.
feel regret, I don't have to feel guilt, and I think that's what readers really want is they want that escape that you're giving them and
Mm-hmm.
the connection that you're giving them without all this baggage.
Yeah, you don't need that. For youth, like you want to find a partner that is healthy. It doesn't necessarily mean that people don't have problems. It just means that they've gone through what they need to go through to handle their problems and not bring their problems on you. Like Lachlan definitely has his issues. He's got his skeletons in his closet, and Seraphine's not perfect either. None of them are perfect characters, and it's just how they choose to be, how they choose every day to be. And maybe sometimes somebody might push somebody away because they don't know how to share those feelings at the time, or maybe they need that space and they're young and they don't know how to ask for it. When it comes down to it, there's no abuse happening. I'm not using you to help myself feel better about a situation. It's really like they're working their stuff out on their own, or they're asking an adult or asking for help.
It's beautiful, I love it. Getting into your author journey a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
did you always know you wanted to be an indie author once you were doing the writing route, or did you try for traditional?
No, I researched a lot. I Something that comes with having ADHD is something called a rejection sensitivity. And I've gotten scholarships, I have my master's, like I have done a lot of work in my life, and I was just to the point where I'm like, I don't want to lose my voice and what I'm trying to write. Knowing the business and the industry, and just knowing the current climate for anything really, controversy is what's been selling for a long time. Knowing that, and knowing how you can easily get into something and get big because you're good at it, but lose your voice, I did not want to do that. So I did make a conscious decision to go indie, and most likely indie only. If I ever, which I have been approached by editors and book producers and stuff, and I still, like, if I don't have a voice in it, I'm not going to do that. So because that's really important to me,
Yeah.
keeping my morals and my ethics. I'm not going to waste my time with somebody or a company that's going to try to break that apart or take that down one way or another. And I have had a company that was quite trying to be manipulative. I won't name them, but trying to manipulate me out of the way that I was writing these characters, and I was like, it's not worth it to me. Yeah, I'm not here to make money. I'm here to write something that hopefully resonates with someone and helps them to understand the dynamics of a healthy relationship and what to look for and what red flags are and, how to stay away from that. So,
Yes, absolutely. I say it all the time. It's about the message, not the money.
if 8 people love my book, then I'm happy. the, the rest of them hate it. That's fine. The
Exactly.
controversy will just bring more people to read it and make a decision. So I think that all press is good press, whether it's bad press or good press. Bad press is usually free, so hey, I'll take that.
Once you became a published author, like what has been the difficulties after that and what have been the joys?
Yeah, I'll start with the difficulties. Just really the amount of people that I get reaching out to me daily that are, and this is like speaking for all indie authors, and this has been particularly hard for me this past week because I don't know why or what happened. My third book came out and now they've like tripled and increased, but these scam artists that get a hold of you to try to do artwork for you, or they try to do marketing for you, or they try to do this, that, and other, and it's clear that they really have not looked into your book or read it. The way that they say things, like how they speak, is just it's so off, like misspelled words and just using things out of the wrong context, and it is a huge energy suck. I work a full-time job, sometimes 50 hours a week or 60, depending. And the writing stuff I do on the side, and that's like my joy. I come home and my work is really strenuous and it's very emotionally taxing. And I want to fall into my fantasy world. And when I'm on social media promoting it, I want others to be able to fall into that world as well and to be able to escape into it. So it takes a lot of energy. I actually think I had 3 before 10 a.m. this morning. They'll be following like 3,000 people and then they'll have like 10 followers or 89 or maybe 300 for the good ones. And it's really discerning to like stop and take my time to respond to these people. I've gotten to the point where I'm just blocking or sending out like a vagrant message like, thank you for reaching out to Drakenfell Chronicles. No, we don't need, we don't need artwork right now. No, we don't need marketing right now. No, I don't need you to edit my book. It's already edited and published. Some of the strangest things that they come up with. Or,
Yeah.
I've been an artist most of my life too. So I do a lot of my own art and it's so frustrating. Then I have my master's in business administration, so I have my MBA, and so all the marketing and everything, like I already know how to do. But these companies just come and they cold call you because they're sending you these messages. Myself and 2 other friends in the indie author world actually run our own little media company that we do for indie authors, and we do it at a reasonable rate. So when you have these people that are doing these scams, like one sent me, they're like, the question that they ask, is your book on Amazon? Just like,
I don't know, is it?
you've not done your research, have you? I don't know, is it? And then like I don't say anything. They come back with this blurb, and they've made me like they've used AI to make this really horrible looking thing that's got like the picture of my book, and then it says stuff about my book. And the last one that I got sent really cracked me up because it was one of the first things that it said, read this book, dragons are sacrificed. And I was like, no, they are not. There's no sacrificing of any dragons in this book. And it cracks me up. But after a while, it does really get to be just really annoying. Sometimes I'll get 10 a day, sometimes 1, sometimes none. And should just write a book about all of those. Just put them all in a book and then publish it. Like, hey. And lately they've been really coming up with some different things. Like I had one send me they must have just copied and pasted everything from Amazon, like all my stats and everything, and then they put it in a little organized thing and then they sent it to me. But the thing was, it was for countries that were UK based. So it was UK and Canada. And I was asking them like, yeah, these stats aren't accurate. These are the stats not in the US, but in, other countries where, I don't really advertise. I don't really, I have a few people that have read, or purchased my book in other countries, but right now, like I can only focus on one region at a time. So I'm not focusing on the other side of the pond, as we call it. But it was really interesting to have them send me that stuff and for me to be like, this is really inaccurate. Like you really shouldn't be doing this to people. Like it just paints a really bad picture.
I would definitely agree. That's one of the worst parts.
The biggest thing too is Indie Authors United, which is a pretty big group that we work together. And that specific group, we have seen a lot of new people that have come in that are just becoming indie authors that are writing their books or haven't published yet and are working on it, or they just published and they are naive. They don't know all of this information. They don't know this stuff, and watch them go through situations where, they're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is really sad. That's actually why me and my other two partners created our company. We're really tired of seeing indie authors get completely used and walked all over. So the good part, fans are amazing. I love talking about my books. I love people reaching out to me and asking me questions, getting reviews, even if they're not the best. It teaches me like what I can do differently, but also keeping in mind, like, I understand like my book is not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I think I've only gotten, the lowest I've gotten so far is a couple 3 stars and a couple 4 stars, but I mostly get 5 stars and I get really good feedback for that. So that's always really nice. But yeah, things like that, just people stopping to say hi, liking or sharing, or all the good endorphin stuff that happens on social media. But really, honestly, like, engaging with people and building that community is really important. It's really hard to find my age group because they are teenagers and they are busy doing other things, but everybody loves YA. So that makes it nice.
That is true, yes. YA is a very, very popular hit among everybody. So let's start marketing. A lot of indie authors, they have different marketing techniques, and I've had quite a few on my interview that really struggle with marketing. So for you, how is marketing? What have you found that works? What doesn't?
Yeah, so with my MBA and why we started our little company was a lot to do with marketing, actually. The best advice that I can give is get Canva. Pay the little bit extra for the better Canva. You can do a lot of research on marketing through the internet, just on what's working. Look at things that are becoming popular and becoming popular fast. Like if it's popping up on your feed and it's not somebody that you follow, it means that it's getting some good traction. And what is that and what does that look like? Mostly what we have found through our research that works is posting on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, 6 a.m., 9 a.m., noon, and 3 p.m. are the times that most people are active on social media for whatever reason. I'm guessing most likely because it's not the weekend where everybody's busy and off doing their own thing. So the middle of the week is kind of like, okay, I've gotten into the swing of work. I'm finally waking up from having too fun of a weekend, and Monday's over. So it's like Tuesday it starts to kick up, and then Wednesday it kicks up more, and then Thursday it kind of drops down a little bit, and then Friday it's a little bit, but it just kind of depends. Those are really the best times too, because if you do 6, 9, and 12, and then 3, 6, 9, and 12, you're basically covering lunchtime on the East Coast through the West Coast. So on lunchtime is where people are scrolling, they're starting to get on their phones, they're starting to become more active like that, especially in the middle of the week. By Thursday, Friday, they're starting to make plans for the weekend, so their focus is less on social media. But somebody might be looking for that book they're going to read that weekend, or dive into on Wednesday. So you want to get ahead of that and not be, posting about your book on the weekend, because by then it's too late. I'm really bad about this, but spell check. Make sure that you're not making spelling errors, which I do sometimes, and then people message me and they're like, "Hey, just so you know, you have a typo." And I'm like,
I think we all do that on occasion. Cause like I've gone through my posts and they'll have like 1K views, and I'm like, yes, and then I look at it, I'm like, crap, I need to redo this.
You're like,
There's
why? Don't. That's another thing. Never delete anything. So the way that the algorithm works is that if you say you started something and you found a typo and you didn't like it, so you deleted it and you got 1,000 views or 300, 200, whatever, you just lost those views and you just messed up your algorithm. Literally just messed it up. So make sure that you keep those, and then they have limited it to 5 hashtags. 5, I tell you.
Yeah, I did notice that.
Yes, which is horrible. I have a friend that's also an indie author. They are in another country, so I don't know if it's true for the US. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet because I typically post and use my mobile phone instead of my laptop. I would have to like redo my password for Instagram that I made up like 5 years ago, and then like type it in to get on my laptop, and I'm too lazy for that. I have too much stuff going on. But I have heard that if you are posting from a computer, like a desktop, instead of your phone, you do have more hashtags. So if somebody could do that and let us know, that would be amazing. I think also just seeing what hashtags And I think this is a really good way that you can use AI without like writing your book is you can ask AI like Chat GPT or Gemini or whatever right now in, however you want to write it, but usually you can ask pretty specific questions. And if you don't get the answer that you like the first time, ask it again in a different way. But you can ask like, what is trending right now? What type of posts are trending on Instagram right now for bookish accounts, things like that. You can even ask it, here's a little bit of information on my book, or just take your blurb from Amazon. This is what those scammers are doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly what they're doing, and they're just putting it in there. You could ask it for blurbs for social media. So, hey, this is what my book's about. I'm not really sure how to market this. Can you come up with some things to say? I have actually taken because there's so many. There's so many to pick out of, and you can do this by hand if you want to, but I have copied and pasted all of the stuff that people have said about my book from several different areas, and I've just compiled it onto one page, and then I've asked, like, can you pick out some of the words that people have been using or been saying about my books to pull quotes to be able to put on my, on social media posts. And reels are really hot right now. Like, posts aren't the best. Reels are really hot. Carousels, I think, are second to that. So you can then take those posts, use a basic image, or even just the cover of your book is enough, and do those quotes. Put your stars up there, how many stars they gave you your book, and then like a little quote like, could not put this book down. That would be a perfect example. Stayed up until 3 a.m. reading this book. I felt like I was in their world. These are just ones that I can remember that I've used a lot for mine. Just things like that. Like H.L. Wiley brought me to another universe that was something that I couldn't get out of, or whatever it is for your book. Everybody has great ones. So that's another really good thing to do. And just sticking with the reels, sticking with the times to post, you can actually go into Instagram and request to post at a later time. So the other morning, I made 3 posts. I asked it to post at 6, 9, and 12 my time, and it worked out really well.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm very long-winded.
No, that's really good information, because I should tell this podcast all the secrets of marketing.
Right?
That's really helpful. So have you seen great success from doing that?
I have. Yeah, I have. And the ones that I get the most success on are the engagement posts. I did one where it was so simple, and it was my book cover. Well, it was my book cover that was on, I just took a picture of my Kindle with my book cover on it. And then I said, indie authors weigh in, what's your day job? And that one got so many, like, I think I had over 200 responses, and I don't remember how many shares and how many views, and, I think over 2,000, which is pretty good for little old me. Has less than 3,000 followers.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that those kinds of posts that I've put as well, whenever I ask a general question that gets to know people a little more, those do a lot better.
Yeah, I recently was pretty vulnerable and spoke up about really feeling defeated about these scammers that try to scam us on stuff. Really being frustrated with that. That one got a lot of attention. There was another one I just asked people like, hey, indie authors, tell us about your book. Please post your book title in this and tell us, and I said, hey, I'll go first, and did mine, and that caused so much conversation between people, and being able to fill up their TBRs or TRBs. TBR.
Yeah, TBRs.
I'm not dyslexic. But yeah, so little things like that. Any way that you can get people to engage. And I also try to follow bookish accounts. So one of the pitfalls that we fall into is following other indie authors, because, well, we're just amazing. We want to make friends and learn from each other, but you really do have to try to branch out and try to find people who would be interested in your books. So sometimes I'll put out, hey, where are my 13 to 17-year-olds? Like, come read this book. And that's something that I always look at too, is my stats and my dashboard, which if you don't know how to do that, reach out to me. I'm happy to help anybody. Look at your dashboard, which will tell you exactly when your people are active, but I'll also tell you who's looking at your stuff. I get stuck in this like 40 to 45-year-old range, and I don't know why. So I really try to bring up my 13 to 17-year-olds, but yeah, I haven't cracked that code yet. So if
we'll have to switch, because I'm the opposite. I'm trying to get the older adults, and all I've got is all these teens, and I'm like, I don't write
I
YA.
Do you dance with your book maybe? Because like
No, I don't.
I think that's what I need to do is these silly TikTok dances like with my book in my hands. Like I don't know
Try
what else
it.
to do.
Maybe
Yeah.
it'll work. I don't know. I just talk on my reels and post mystery stuff and teens like that.
Maybe teens are really into mystery right now. Maybe I'm writing for the wrong group. Maybe I should just start putting hashtag deep mystery. This book is mysterious. So many mysteries.
So many mysteries. I
Yeah.
don't know, but I can't vouch for it because for myself, most of my book sales don't come from social media, so
Mhm.
don't
Where do
know.
most of your book sales come from then?
So a mix of book funnel, but mostly newsletters. I advertise with the Fussy Librarian, and that usually puts me up. I'm not going to name the number, but that's where I get the bulk of mine is just by advertising on those
Mhm.
general newsletters. So, and
Yeah.
that's something that I got from my mother-in-law. She's a New York bestselling indie romance author.
Ooh.
So
So what
I
is the
thought
name
I'll copy her.
what is the name of the newsletter again?
The Fussy Librarian.
I think I've heard of it, yeah. I started doing ads on Amazon and I don't think there's much impact.
Oh my gosh, Amazon is so hard. My friend Hayes Wolfenden, he has a podcast too. He was interviewing two just the other week and they were talking
Mhm.
about Amazon ads and how terrible they were. And I
Yeah.
don't think anybody's cracked that I've met so far.
Mm-mm. It's really weird, and I got to the point where I was asking AI about that when I'm like, "Hey, tell me how to crack this," because a lot of people don't know this, but engineers and people that write code and people that are like really high up there, they actually use Chat GPT
They
to
do.
do a lot of that. It's super intelligent. It's really good at recognizing algorithm and things like that. So if you're, obviously you're not using it to write your book, use it for marketing. Why not? It's got a
Yeah,
lot of
like
information, and your risk factor. You're not putting a lot in about your book, so it's not going to be learning from it. So it's a smart
it's
way.
about proper use of it. I agree with that.
Mhm. But yeah, I haven't been able to crack that code either. And it's like, and it tells me specifically, it's like, don't use more than $5 a day. And sometimes, and the way that it works is you don't pay anything if nobody clicks. So I
Hmm.
did a thing where it's like at least 17 cents a click up to 35 cents a click. So depending on where they're putting it, they charge more. So there have been, right now, I've had an ad going for 3 weeks and I've only spent about $5.18. And there are days when I got like 1,200 clicks, but those clicks were only because I was running my book for free those two
Hmm.
days, which is another good marketing ploy. If you have multiple books, is to do have the first one free for a week. You get a chance to do that every 90 days. So, and it helps the book funnel. Like if they like it, they'll get the next book. And if they like
Hmm.
that one, they'll get the next book. But it all
Yeah,
just depends. It's all finicky. So
I agree with that.
yeah, I don't know how the people who have trad have gone that route actually make their books big, because I've heard a lot of people who have gone trad, and if their books are not selling, they drop them within a couple months. Yeah, a few months.
Huh.
They will not invest further into a book that's not, like really getting hits and stuff
Yeah,
like
selling.
that. Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
good for me to know. I am actually querying to try to get into traditional
Mm-hmm.
because I love being an author. I hate marketing so much, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, I need an agent to do this for me. So yeah, I don't.
But a
That
lot
could
of
be a
it's so
thing.
simple. Yeah, it's a lot of it is simple. I think like especially with you said your mother-in-law, right?
Hmm.
She could probably give you a lot of tips. It sounds like she has. Maybe we just need to
Yeah,
write a
I'm
book.
thinking of getting her on the podcast sometime. I didn't want to pull that card till getting a lot of other authors on. So someday everyone can look forward to her.
That sounds like something to look forward to. But yeah, the marketing, it's really fickle, honestly. Yeah, and it just honestly it reflects the world right now. I think with a lot of,
Have my cat meowing at the door.
I know mine were just meowing too, and then they were chasing each other around. They finally calmed down again. It's okay. I did a interview with Amara Wynn. I don't know if you're familiar with Amara Wynn, but my cat ended up being
I
locked
did
in
see
the
that
room.
interview. Yeah.
Did you watch the interview with my damn cat locked in the pantry?
Yeah, I watched portions of it because I was considering getting on her interview myself, but I was checking out, and you happened to be the one on it. I thought, neat.
I love Amara. She's so cool. She really is. If you get a chance to, definitely.
You've shared so many incredible things with us. Great advice. Your book is
Thank
wonderful.
you.
I can say that because I've read it. So for all the viewers, read her book. It'll be in the links below.
Thank you.
But what is some great advice that you would give to aspiring authors?
Don't give up. I don't care if it takes you 10 years to write your book. Don't give up. Don't be so hard on yourself either. And if I'm being honest, I know a lot of people want to ask friends and family for advice, or they want to ask other authors, like, does this sound good? And does this sound good? Like, ask yourself, does this sound good to you? Would you like this? Because that's the only thing that matters. Understanding that maybe only 10% of the population is going to like your book, but those are your people. That 10% are your people, and shoot for them, and don't allow anybody to change your book or change your mind about what you want to write. You write for the joy of it, you write for the fun of it, and it'll find its audience on its own. It just takes time,
Absolutely.
especially
Yeah.
especially with indie authors. Everything that we do is much slower than traditional, and that's okay. Sometimes it just takes time. I mean, look at that song that they used in Stranger Things, the Running Up the Hill by, what's her name? I can't remember the name of the artist, but, that song came out in the 80s when I was a kid. And then all of a sudden it like skyrocketed to #1 in 2025. So never give up, because you never know.
Yeah, you never know. Be your own champion and take the long view.
Exactly. Yeah. You
Yeah.
can't see the tops of the trees where you're standing in the forest. Get out of the forest, then look.
Exactly. Beautiful analogy
One of
from
my
an author.
favorites. It's one of my favorites. Well, it's been
All
a
right. Well,
pleasure talking to you too.
absolutely. And just for everybody who's viewing, you can check out H.L. Wiley's links below in the description. Be sure to check out her book. It is a good book. I'm sure the rest of the books are great. I will get to them as well.
Awesome.
And your socials will be down below as well so that they can follow you. And thank you so much for joining me on my podcast. It has just been an absolute pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you, you as well. Take care.